So first of all, in terms of introductions, my name's Tim Reay. I work for Satalia. We are a AI-powered provider who provide logistics solutions, specializing in route optimization across last mile and middle mile. And we offer it for a range of suppliers and clients, such as Tesco, Waitrose, and probably one of our longest standing and favorite clients is the DFS Group and the Sofa Delivery Company. Alex, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I'm Alex Salden. I'm the Managing Director of the Sofa Delivery Company. We're part of the DFS Group. DFS is a rather large UK retailer. Most people will have heard of it, I'm sure. We also own a business called Sofology. And so what we do at the Sofa Delivery Company is deliver sofas that have been sold by either DFS or Sofology. And it's pretty big because by nature of the market share that those two retailers hold in the UK, we're delivering a number of probably about 15,000 orders a week, which is pretty significant. We've got 22 depots up and down the UK, 250 vehicles out on the road every day, and 1,300 colleagues. It's a pretty big operation delivering sofas. We do what it says on the tin. Tim.
Absolutely. And it's obviously today it's a vast scale of operation. It's very sophisticated. It's not always been that way. So I think I first met Alex about 10 years ago in 2015. I'd joined Satalia's parent company from a grocery background, and I'd gone to see Alex talking about some of the more advanced techniques they were using in the grocery sector around last mile. And I think at the time things were quite different in the group and how you're operating. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I think back then it was just DFS. We hadn't acquired Sofology at that stage. Sofology came in 2017. And we just embarked on a program of moving all of our logistics from the backs of the shops into what we call customer delivery centres, a regional network of distribution centres. And we took a lot of the practices and ways of operating from those shops into those regional centres, but with more demand all in one place. A lot of the manual processes and ways of working and ways of operating just didn't cut it really. So we needed to look for partners and system solutions which would help us to get the most of these new customer delivery centres.
And I think at that point you then found Satalia and our CEO Daniel Hume. And I think you had an interesting first meeting with him when you came across him.
Yeah, I met Daniel Hume. For those of you that don't know Daniel, have a look online. Daniel's a very, very smart guy. Possibly the smartest guy I've ever met in business. And at the time was, it's founded Satalia, I believe. And his business working hard in data and AI and developing solutions for logistics providers. And I met Daniel, I explained my predicaments and challenges. He shook my hand and he said to me, Alex, we like solving hard problems. You've come to the right place. I thought, great. So I said, over to you then, Daniel, what we're going to do.
Absolutely. And I think in those early days when we were trying to scope out what kind of transformation we were trying to set out and how we were approaching it, we spent quite a lot of time. The DFS Group has a location in Darley-Dale. I don't know whether anyone's been to Darley-Dale. It's in a beautiful location in kind of North Derbyshire in the moors. You kind of drive in there. It's kind of like entering Postman Pat country. It's not the place you expect to plot kind of how you're going to change and revolutionise your supply chain, but it's perfect because it's away from everything. You can forget your email, take a good few days and focus on where you're going to go into the future. And Alex, we tried to tackle what you're trying to achieve through the transformation in those sessions.
Yeah, it was. I can talk of those days quite fondly. We all met at Darley-Dale, as you say, beautiful location. We've got some office space and some a training facility there. And Satalia came along with their guys, and a number of my team were there. And we spent 3 or 4 days really figuring all this out. Eating pizza and drinking beer at times, and working it all out together in the beautiful surroundings in the middle of Derbyshire. It was quite a unique start to the relationship, that's for sure.
It was, and what were some of those key challenges we were thinking about, and the key things you were trying to reconcile in terms of how we approached it?
Yeah, so our biggest problem at the time was around route optimization and scheduling, and particularly the customer journey in order to create those schedules. And we had invested at that time in some pretty rudimentary scheduling systems that you can buy off the shelf.
Some of them are here this week.
Well, I wouldn't want to say anything publicly about them, but they didn't quite cut the mustard, so to speak. Good systems, albeit we wanted something a little bit better than that to optimize our customer journey, to provide us with the efficiencies that we were looking for from our fleet. And so that's where it first started. Given the scale of our deliveries and our operation, small percentage improvements in the customer journey or the optimization and efficiencies can add up to some pretty big numbers. So that's where we started our conundrum.
Absolutely. And what do you think in particular worked well about those initial sessions? What do you think made the relationship stick and still be working together 10 years later?
Other than the pizza and the beers, of course. And I joke about that, but fundamentally what we found with Satalia, it just wasn't a corporate relationship. It felt very natural to get my team in the Sofa Delivery Company together with the Satalia team and sit down together and try and figure out what the problem is we're trying to solve. And I think the foundation of that was a great relationship, which started, I think, when I'd met Daniel, but that sort of transcended down the team. And it felt very much it was a problem we were trying to solve together with some common objectives. And it starts with the relationship and the partners that you choose, I think.
Absolutely. And I think a key stage in those early times when you're trying to work through the problem is really stress testing how you want to approach it. So are you going purely for customer service regardless of cost? Many people start that way, but the journey changes as you go, and really kind of having some of those challenging conversations about how do you want to optimize these solutions. When we get towards rolling out a solution, I think we got some pretty impressive results in terms of what we were able to deliver for your customers.
Yeah, initially we were optimizing for customer and making sure that customer journey worked and offering the customer delivery slots that they wanted and giving them choice. Being very clear on the delivery window and the options that the customer had, and presenting that in a way that was really conducive to a good customer journey. Our NPS scores went through the roof. The customer feedback was unbelievable. The operations team worked incredibly hard to make sure that we delivered our operational in-day in accordance with the plan from the system. So we worked very closely to deliver that result for the customer. NPS went through the roof. Having said that, we also saw some incredible efficiency savings. Through the scale that we've got, I reckon we certainly saved more than £1 million in that first year on the back of the efficiency savings through routing and scheduling our vehicles. And that's before you start thinking about what does that do to your carbon footprint and the mileage that you're taking, significant improvements. So a number of benefits, but fundamentally the problem we were trying to solve was for the customer, and we certainly did that in that first phase.
Yeah, and I think the key to that is how you model the problem. So ultimately this is very large scale maths problems at the heart of it. How do you route most effectively between your customers? How do you get them to the slots where you want them? And at the risk of going towards kind of A-level maths, these are exponentially large problems. So if you've got 3 deliveries that you're trying to get round, there's kind of 6 different options in terms of the way you can deliver to those 3 customers. As soon as you get 10 customers, you're up to about 3.5 million combinations in terms of the order in which you can deliver those 10 orders. Now, we have some clients who operate from a site in London with 120 vehicles doing 15 drops per vehicle. Now, the combinations of options within that, I think it's more than the number of atoms in the universe. So the problems that cannot be solved fully, you can never solve that as a solution. The key thing is how quickly can you iterate towards a great solution and an efficient solution, and do that sufficiently quickly so you can interact directly with the customer and encourage them into the slot that you want them to be in, while still offering them really great choice. And that's what we try and achieve with the solutions that we put in place. So I guess we've got the base solution launched. We're operating. Where does the sofa delivery company come from at that point?
Yeah, so round about 2017, the DFS group acquired Sofology. We'd done a pretty good job with the DFS supply chain, and we had a physical network of about 20 distribution centres. And with the Sofology acquisition came about a third as much scale again. They had six distribution centres. They were delivering, I think, about 6,000 orders a week in that sort of scale. So we just built in more scale. But we were operating the fleet completely independently. So there were Sofology vehicles and DFS vehicles running around the country, and often delivering to the same street or the same postcode on the same day. Sometimes minutes apart. It was quite comical at times. Drivers had come back and say, we've all been in the same neighbourhood. And so it didn't take too long for us to figure out if we could create a brand that was kind of retail brand agnostic, the Sofa Delivery Company, then we could start delivering for whichever retailer had sold the product, and we could go out on behalf of Sofology and DFS on the same vehicle, and using all the smart technology that we developed with Apollo, you just had more volume then to put into the algorithm. Is that right? Is that what you did with it?
That's right. It's almost the bigger the problem with this kind of solution, the better the results. So from our point of view, more volume, happy days. I guess there's a lot of challenges though when you create a new company, you're smashing two operations together. What were some of the key challenges that you faced through that journey?
Well, operationally, on the face of it, we were all just delivering sofas, and you think, well, how difficult can that be? But we all delivered sofas slightly differently, and so it was about finding the best practice, I think, and ensuring that we took, as corny as this sounds, the best of both businesses, integrating them together, agreeing what was the one way that we were going to do that, and ensuring that that was consistently applied across all of the depots. There was the inevitable cultural differences between our people that had come up through different businesses, and we wanted to create our own sense of culture within the Sofa Delivery Company, and I think we did that quite successfully, but it was very directed with a number of key actions to make sure that happened.
I think we probably find that across most of our clients, where you have the technology change is one thing, and that's a more understandable problem, and we can isolate it. It's the change management across an organisation that normally ultimately spells whether something is truly successful or not. I guess another key pivot along the journey here is probably COVID, and as I'm sure most people did here, everyone redecorates the house. Sofa sales probably go through the roof because everyone's sat on it most of the day. And also customer expectations changed during COVID in terms of around what people expect from delivery. So how did you tackle some of the challenges that threw up?
Well, this is where the audience participation comes in. Did anyone update their home or their house during COVID? One over there, one over there, one over there. And so if you were updating your living room, you probably bought a sofa. I hope you bought it from DFS or from Sofology. If you didn't, leave now.
Hopefully it was on time.
Yeah, so just from that little straw poll, a lot of our volumes went through the roof during COVID. We continued to work. We had an online retail business, even though the shops were shut at times. We were selling a phenomenal amount of sofas. And as a consequence of that, our operation was put under a huge amount of strain and stress. Our colleagues were out delivering, following all the strict protocols that we needed to. But it became a volume game then. We almost doubled our volume overnight or over that period in terms of sales. And then we had to work with Satalia to optimize for something else. Of course, we optimized for the customer, but we posed the challenge about let's optimize for warehouse space. Let's optimize for vehicle fill much more intensely, because we need to get these sofas out of the warehouse because we were running out of space. And so some of the algorithms and some of the ways that you figured out how to route and schedule our vehicles, I think, changed during that period. And what we'd lost a bit on customer optimization, we gained in efficiencies. And the customer optimization became less important because most people were sat at home all day waiting for the sofas. So they didn't have to hit a specific day of the week in as many cases. So that pivoting and the optimization for something else became key.
Yeah, we would refer it as the changing the objective function, what we're trying to ultimately get to. We also, at that time, brought in a lot of automation about the processes surrounding the delivery operation. So you may have doubled the volume, you can't necessarily double your people operating the system. So how do we more automatically schedule customers' deliveries? How do we enable customers to self-serve if they need to amend something or change something, and really try and remove cost from the wider organization as well as just the fleet? So I guess we've done a lot of great stuff up until that point, and we probably brings us towards present day. Where does the future take you? Where's the Sofa delivery company heading at this point?
Well, we got through COVID, stabilised the operations. We'd also invested in quite a number of our other systems, our warehouse management system, inbound portal for our suppliers, and obviously the routing and scheduling optimization and the customer journey. And I reckon today we've got pretty good at delivering sofas. I would say very good at delivering sofas, and I get a lot of insight across the 3PL industry. I understand what others do. We see a lot of KPIs. We're well connected, and I would say, without sounding arrogant, we are the best two-man sofa installation business in the UK and the biggest. Nobody's delivering as many sofas as we are, and so we're pretty good at it. And we've just started delivering for another online retailer, and that's going pretty well. And as we move forwards, what we'd like to do is take the Sofa delivery company to market and look for other customers to give more volume and scale, but fundamentally to bring all of that expertise and care that we give to our current retailers, because we've got pretty good at delivering sofas in the UK, and I would argue have got something to bring to the market.
Fantastic. And when you look back across the last decade or so, there's probably people in the audience considering their own transformations, how they improve their own supply chains and their efficiency. Any particular points you'd highlight or emphasize to them about starting that journey?
I think fundamentally choose the right partnerships, choose the right people to work for and with, and ensure that you spend a lot of time up front building the relationship and then defining the problem that you're trying to solve. I think all too often companies can run around chasing the wrong rabbits, solving the wrong problems, and before too long you've spent a lot of time and resources and you've not got the solution that you need. Building the relationships means that you're in it for the long term together, and so as your priorities change and the things that you need out of your suppliers and providers changes, as we experienced through COVID, you can work through with them with new challenges, building on all of that great stuff that you've done previously. So choose your suppliers, build relationships, be really, really clear on the problem that you're trying to solve. That phase is the fun bit, because you can eat pizza and drink beer, and then get on with it.
Fantastic. And the problem is never solved, is it? There's always something else to solve. There's another change from the customer, change from the government, change from the industry, but we need to pivot and react to. Maybe if I ask a slightly different question as well, in terms of over the last 10 years, obviously sustainability come to the fore in terms of people's minds and attention. How's that process gone for you as that becomes a much bigger issue?
Yeah, I mean, many in the audience will know the challenges of transitioning the HGV or the larger vehicle commercial fleet to alternative fuels, and we're on the cusp of that across the industry. And so we've been working through that with our smaller vehicles, electric vehicles for our service manager vans, electric cars. We haven't quite tackled that yet for our commercial fleet, but it's coming. But what we can do in the interim with our commercial fleet is make sure that we're not doing unnecessary mileage, burning carbon, and by fleet optimization through systems with yourselves, of course, we reduce our carbon output by making sure that we're doing the correct mileage and not running around the countryside burning fuel that we don't need to.
I think it's probably one of the few occasions where us becoming more efficient makes us more sustainable at the same time. So it's a happy coincidence. Okay, that's probably enough of us talking amongst ourselves with our questions. We'll throw it open to the floor if anyone's got any questions for us.
Thank you. Question for Tim. Thinking of the COVID period, what challenges did you face in regards to the optimization algorithms, bearing in mind transport would have been reduced massively down into congestion, so going into central London, the motorways, you're getting around a lot quicker. Timing the properties, I take it there was set times that the delivery crews have going into properties. They probably didn't go across the threshold during the COVID period. So how did the system enable itself to optimize? Because that would have had to have been done quite quickly.
I think the key thing is your ability to react quickly. You know, your volumes go higher, makes the problem probably easier to solve in some ways, but you've got to scale, so you need cloud infrastructure that enables you to step forward. The key thing is you need to be able to keep pace with the business changes. So, you know, we moved from the start point where we were trying to do time delivery slots. It's all about trying to give a customer a 2-3 hour window. COVID hits, it's irrelevant. So you need to pivot towards all-day slots. So again, it makes the optimization challenge actually easier, but it's only easier if you can change the underlying technology to focus on those functions. So again, we work across a range of different retail clients to try and react to their needs, and we don't have a standard off-the-shelf product which we can't vary from. So I think that sets us up well in something like COVID when things do change, so you can react and really listen to what the customer needs and what your partners need, and align yourself to that.
I think the smart thing about the Satalia product as well is that I'll oversimplify it, I'm sure, but the algorithm is looking at the drive time and the time at door. And the time at door is quite complex, and it's very, very critical because that can vary significantly depending on the product. If we're delivering a sofa that needs significant installation, sofas are becoming more and more technical now, electronics fitted and this, that and the other. We could spend an hour in a customer's property. Alternatively, we might deliver a two-seater and we're there for 10 minutes. A lot of the systems that we'd worked with previously didn't really understand the data, the number of parameters around time at door, but also drive time, and regionalising that and understanding local events and activities. The system's flexible enough to understand all of that, optimising time at door, drive time, and as a consequence creating the right schedule for our customers and for us from an efficiency point of view. Is that what it does?
It does. You know, do you want a job? Bring you on board. Cool. Anyone else with a question?
Hi. I wanted to ask you a question about drivers. Do they see the impact of the changes?
Most certainly. Most certainly. So right back in the day, they used to plan their own routes with an A to Z. I joined the company in 2012, and at that point we hadn't invested at all. And they were literally tearing up bits of paper and planning out their own routes. And clearly, as you start bringing technology in, there's no way that a computer can do what the driver is thinking. And we had lots of conversations with that. And there was a fascinating session that Daniel, who is, and bearing in mind, this is one of the world leaders in AI and data analytics, London University PhD, very smart guy. I said to Daniel, come and explain this to the drivers. And we went down to Maidstone Distribution Centre early one morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. We got all the drivers together, and Daniel explained to him, and I thought this guy's just going to bamboozle them with science and make it very difficult talking about algorithms, but he was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant because he talked about it in their language. And so we had to do a lot of stuff with the drivers to engage them, to explain to them what was happening, use their feedback to improve and make the system better. It was great. It was absolutely great. Yeah, but it is a challenge because it's change. Yeah.
I think the key thing with drivers as well is you need to be honest about what you can and cannot solve. So there's still going to be problems. It's still only a plan. You know, traffic happens on the day, problems happen with the day. You get the sofa to the customer's address and you just won't go through the door. You can't predict that kind of thing. But what you can give the drivers is the best possible plan, an opportunity to get round, deliver to the customers on time, hopefully with a smile on their face. Okay, any further questions for anyone? No? Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.